dear beloved. The stars move in ordered courses, yet their light touches every shadow. Likewise, your thoughts, intentions, and actions ripple outward, shaping outcomes and illuminating paths. Situational management is mastery of this interplay. In moments of turbulence, recall the sages of old, who saw the divine in every challenge. Just breathe deeply and invite calm, clarity, and discernment into your mind. Each situation is a sacred teacher, revealing hidden truths, testing patience, and refining your wisdom. Just harmonize your response with the greater good, become a conduit for good. Your hands and heart are instruments of alignment. You hold both courage and compassion, decisiveness and stillness. Let the celestial sphere above to guide your discernment, the eternal principles of justice, harmony, and timing, let them guide your choices. Move through situations as a steward of intention, shaping outcomes through presence, insight, and alignment. And as you walk the path of life, realize, situational management is not domination over events, but resonance with them. Become both witness and participant, both observer and actor, harmonizing the inner and outer, the temporal and the eternal, so that every decision, every word, every gesture carries the luminous wisdom, grace, and celestial guidance. The mirror of moments. Every situation you face is a mirror. It reflects your patience, your fears, your strength. When you respond with awareness, the mirror shows you not only the situation but the deeper truth of yourself. The balance of tides. You learn that no tide can be stopped. Some must be guided, some endured, some embraced. Situational management is your art of balancing these tides without losing yourself to their pull. Listening before acting. When you pause to listen, the situation reveals its nature. The silence between your thoughts becomes a compass, guiding you to act with precision rather than reaction. The weight of timing. You realize timing is often more important than force. To act too soon is to scatter energy, to act too late is to miss the flow. Situational management teaches you to move in rhythm with time itself. The anchor and the sail. You are both anchor and sail. Your principles hold you steady, while your adaptability catches the winds of change. Together, they carry you through every shifting circumstance. The power of presence. When you stand fully present in a situation, clarity arises. Presence turns confusion into direction, tension into possibility. Presence itself becomes your strongest tool of management. The gentle hand. Not every situation requires force. Sometimes a gentle hand, a soft word, or a calm silence carries more weight than authority. Situational management shows you the strength of subtlety. The lesson hidden within each situation carries a lesson wrapped inside it. Some teach resilience, others humility, others trust. When you manage with awareness, you unwrap these lessons and carry them forward. The dance of adjustment. Situational management is a dance. Step too hard, and you stumble. Step too lightly, and you lose rhythm. By adjusting your movements to the flow, you remain in harmony with the music of the moment. The observer and the participant. You are both observer and participant. You step back to see clearly, then step in to shape the outcome. Holding both roles at once is the essence of situational wisdom. The space you create. Sometimes, managing a situation is not about adding more, but about creating space. Space for others to speak, space for tension to ease, space for clarity to arise. The fluid mind. A rigid mind breaks against change. A fluid mind bends, adapts, and flows. Situational management invites you to keep your mind fluid, so you can respond to life without resistance. The gift of flexibility. You discover that flexibility is not weakness but strength. To bend is not to break, but to endure. In managing situations, your flexibility opens pathways where rigidity would close them. The circle of response: every action circles back. How you respond to a situation shapes how it responds to you. Situational management is the art of sending out what you wish to receive in return. The inner compass: no matter how chaotic the situation, you carry an inner compass. When you quiet your mind and listen inward, you find the direction you need. Situational management begins within before it extends outward. The shape of circumstance: every situation has its own shape, like a vessel waiting to be filled. When you manage it with awareness, you do not force it into another form, you honor its shape and guide what it can hold. The pause between events: in the pause between one moment and the next, you discover choice. That pause is where situational management begins, not in the noise, but in the silence where clarity waits. The river of change: situations flow like rivers. You cannot stop the current, but you can learn where to wade, where to swim, and where to let yourself be carried. The wisdom of flexibility: to be flexible is not to lack strength. It is to endure without breaking, to shift without losing essence. Situational management lives in this wisdom of bending without collapse. The echo of response: every response you give echoes back. A harsh tone may return as resistance, a calm word may return as harmony. Situational management is the practice of shaping echoes before they form. The lens of perspective: each situation looks different depending on the angle of your gaze. To manage well, you shift your lens, seeing not only what is before you, but also what it could become. The quiet strength: not every situation demands noise or movement. Some are transformed by stillness, by the quiet strength of presence. Situational management reminds you that silence, too, is an action. The hidden lesson: no situation comes empty. Each carries a hidden lesson folded inside. By managing with patience, you unwrap that lesson and carry it forward as wisdom. The bridge of communication: many situations rise and fall on words. When you manage with careful speech, you build bridges instead of walls. Communication becomes your pathway through difficulty. The compass of values: when the way forward is uncertain, values become your compass. Situational management aligns choices with what matters most, so that every action holds integrity. The flow of timing: to manage is also to sense time's rhythm. There is a moment to act, a moment to wait, and a moment to release. Timing is the invisible hand that shapes the outcome. The power of observation: before you act, you observe. Observation opens the map of the situation, showing you its hidden roots and unseen patterns. Management begins with the eyes of attention. The circle of influence: you cannot control every outcome, but you can influence the circle around you. Situational management teaches you to work within this circle, expanding it through trust and clarity. The gentle adjustment: sometimes management is not about bold moves, but gentle adjustments, a word spoken at the right time, a gesture that shifts energy, a pause that redirects the current. The harmony within chaos: even in chaos, harmony hides. By standing steady, you become the tuning fork that draws order from disorder. Situational management is the practice of finding harmony where others see only storm. You stand at the threshold of growth, where expansion feels both promising and uncertain. Managing scale is not merely about getting bigger, it is about growing with balance, growing without losing the essence of what makes you whole. As growth arrives, it asks you to stretch. It asks you to hold more, serve more, and guide more, without breaking under the weight of expansion. Situational management at scale is about creating structures that support growth, while keeping your vision flexible enough to adapt. You learn that growth without management is chaos, and management without growth is stagnation. The two must meet. One provides momentum, the other direction. Together, they shape steady progress. In scaling, you are invited to delegate, to trust, to build systems that can breathe without you in every detail. You discover that true growth is not about holding tighter, but about opening wider, creating space for others, for new ideas, for new responsibilities to flow naturally. Growth management calls you to refine your foundation. Without a strong base, expansion topples. With a stable center, growth multiplies gracefully. You realize that every level of scale is not just an increase in size, but a deepening in wisdom, patience, and clarity. To manage scale is to walk the line between ambition and sustainability. Too fast, and you fracture. Too slow, and you stagnate. But in balance, growth becomes harmony, a rhythm you can sustain, a melody that carries into the future. You find yourself in the unfolding of growth, expansion that asks more of you than before. Managing scale is not simply about adding layers or increasing numbers, it is about deepening structure while keeping spirit intact. As you grow, you are called to hold a wider circle. What once could rest in your own hands now requires systems, trust, and delegation. You learn that growth is not control multiplied, but responsibility shared. In growth management, you balance vision with reality. You see what can be, yet you honor the pace at which foundations can support it. Too much too soon, and the structure cracks. Too little too late, and opportunity slips away. You discover that growth is not only outward but inward. To expand without grounding is to scatter, to expand with awareness is to root yourself deeper as you reach higher. The stronger your core, the further you can stretch. Managing scale asks you to become both architect and gardener, building frameworks that endure, while tending the living culture that animates them. You measure success not only in size, but in sustainability, harmony, and purpose. In this way, growth becomes more than increase, it becomes refinement. Each stage teaches you to let go of what no longer fits, and to embrace what the new horizon requires of you. The expansion of space as scale arrives, you realize that more space must be created, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Managing growth means learning to expand your capacity without stretching yourself too thin. The weight of foundations, you see that every tall structure depends on what lies beneath it. Growth asks you to strengthen foundations before you add more height. Without this, expansion cannot hold. The art of delegation in growth, you cannot hold everything yourself. You must place trust in others, handing them responsibility like seeds. Delegation becomes the soil where sustainable expansion takes root. The river of opportunities flow like a river, swift and endless. Growth management asks you to choose which streams to follow. Not every branch leads to abundance, some only to distraction. The rhythm of sustainability, you learn that scale has its rhythm. Push too hard, and the rhythm breaks. Move with balance, and growth becomes a sustainable dance, each step aligned with the beat of time. The balance of vision and structure, vision draws you forward, but structure keeps you steady. Managing scale requires you to carry both, the dream that inspires and the framework that sustains. The tension of letting go. Growth requires release. Systems that worked before no longer fit. Roles you once carried must be handed away. Letting go is not loss, but the opening that allows new forms to arise. The garden of growth. Scaling is less like building a machine and more like tending a garden. You water, you prune, you wait. Some areas flourish quickly, others take seasons. Management is patience in action. The compass of values in expansion, it is easy to drift. Your compass is your values. They keep your direction true, ensuring that scale does not dilute your essence, but strengthens it. The power of simplicity. Growth tempts you to add complexity, but wisdom reminds you to simplify. Scale thrives not on clutter, but on clarity. The simpler the path, the stronger the journey. The storm of change. With growth comes disruption, like a storm that shakes old branches loose. You learn not to fear the storm, but to use it, clearing what no longer serves, making room for new life. The circle of trust. Growth expands circles. To manage scale, you build circles of trust, people who carry vision, people who hold responsibility, people who align with your purpose. Trust is the true infrastructure of expansion. The patience of seasons. Scale unfolds like seasons. You cannot harvest before planting, nor plant before clearing the soil. Growth management is honoring the right step in the right season. The balance of speed and endurance. Growth often pulls you to move fast, but speed alone burns out. You learn that endurance matters more. Growth that lasts is built not in sprints, but in steady, measured strides. The inner expansion. Managing scale is not only outward. It is inward. As your responsibilities grow, your mind, patience, and wisdom must also grow. The inner expansion is what makes the outer expansion possible. The expansion of space. As scale arrives, you realize that more space must be created, not just physical rooms or structures, but also inner space within yourself. Growth adds weight, and weight needs room to settle without crushing what is already there. Managing growth asks you to expand your capacity for patience, awareness, and trust. You breathe wider, think broader, and open more generously. Without that expansion of space, growth becomes suffocation. With it, growth becomes harmony. The weight of foundations. You see that every tall structure depends on what lies beneath it. Scaling without preparing foundations is like building towers on shifting sand, impressive for a moment, but destined to collapse. Growth management requires you to dig deeper before you rise higher. You fortify values, strengthen processes, and reinforce trust. Each new layer of stability becomes the soil from which greater expansion can grow. The art of delegation in growth. You cannot hold everything yourself. What once rested in your hands must now be entrusted to others. Delegation is not surrender, it is a planting of seeds. When you give responsibility with care and clarity, you empower others to grow alongside you. Situational management at scale is learning to release control without abandoning vision. The more you trust others to carry the vision, the stronger your expansion becomes. The river of opportunity. Opportunities flow like rivers, swift, tempting, endless. To scale wisely, you must learn discernment. Not every branch of the river leads to abundance, some lead only to wasted effort or distraction. Growth management is the practice of choosing where to place your boat. You sense which currents align with your destination and which simply drain your strength. To grow well, you learn not to chase every opportunity, but to select the ones that carry you in harmony with your deeper purpose. The rhythm of sustainability. You learn that scale has its rhythm. Push too hard and the rhythm breaks, leaving you exhausted. Move too slowly and momentum fades, leaving you stagnant. Managing growth is listening to the pulse of expansion and aligning yourself with its natural tempo. Some seasons call for quick action, others for quiet building. When you discover the rhythm of sustainability, you no longer burn out, you expand in flow. The balance of vision and structure. Vision draws you forward, but without structure, vision dissolves into chaos. Structure keeps you steady, but without vision, structure hardens into lifeless routine. Growth management asks you to balance both, to dream boldly while also grounding your dreams in frameworks that can endure. You hold the fire of inspiration in one hand and the stones of structure in the other, shaping a path that both inspires and sustains. The tension of letting go. Growth requires release. The methods and habits that once served you no longer fit the scale you are moving into. Roles you once held tightly must now be handed away. Letting go feels like loss, yet it is the very act that makes room for new life. In growth management, you learn that expansion is not simply addition, it is transformation. And transformation always involves releasing what no longer serves. The garden of growth. Scaling is less like building a machine and more like tending a garden. Growth requires watering, pruning, and patience. Some areas flourish quickly, others take seasons. You cannot force every branch to bloom at once, nor can you ignore the weeds that creep in. Growth management is the gardener's art, balancing nurture with pruning, timing with care, so that the whole ecosystem thrives together. The compass of values. As you expand, it is easy to lose your way. The noise of new opportunities, demands, and directions can cloud your vision. Your compass in these moments is your values. They point you back to true north when distractions try to scatter your energy. Scale does not change who you are, it magnifies it. Growth management asks you to return again and again to your values, ensuring that each layer of expansion aligns with the integrity of your core. The power of simplicity. Growth tempts you to add complexity, more layers, more processes, more steps. Yet you discover that true strength lies in simplicity. Scale thrives not on clutter, but on clarity. The simpler your structures, the easier they are to grow. The simpler your communication, the farther it carries. Growth management is not about adding more, but about distilling what works best, so that every expansion is clean and strong. The storm of change. Growth never comes without disruption. It shakes habits loose, rattles old structures, and tests your resilience. It arrives like a storm, loud, unsettling, necessary. The storm clears away what is brittle and weak, making space for stronger roots to anchor. Managing scale means you do not fear the storm. You stand steady within it, using its force as energy to cleanse, renew, and prepare for the next stage of expansion. The circle of trust. As you grow, circles expand. No longer can you rely only on your own strength, you build circles of trust around you. People who share the vision, people who carry responsibility, people who hold the same principles. Trust becomes the true infrastructure of scale. Without it, every new layer crumbles. With it, growth becomes effortless, as others help carry the weight of expansion alongside you. The patience of seasons. Scaling follows the wisdom of nature. There is a season for planting, a season for waiting, a season for harvesting. To force a harvest too soon is to reap emptiness. To linger too long in planting is to miss abundance. Growth management is honoring the seasons as they come, neither rushing nor resisting, but moving in harmony with the cycles of expansion. The balance of speed and endurance. Growth often pulls you to run faster, to seize opportunity, to outpace the storm. Yet speed without endurance burns out quickly. Growth that lasts is built not in frantic sprints, but in steady, measured strides. Managing scale means asking yourself not only, how fast can I move, but also, how long can I sustain this pace? True growth is not about racing ahead, but about lasting long enough to arrive where you are meant to be. The inner expansion. As responsibilities increase, you realize that outward growth demands inward growth. To carry more on the outside, you must expand within. Your patience must stretch, your wisdom must deepen, your clarity must sharpen. Growth management is not simply building structures and teams, it is cultivating yourself as the vessel strong enough to hold the weight of expansion. The greater your inner expansion, the smoother your outer growth unfolds. You find yourself at the threshold of expansion, where growth is no longer a distant idea but a living, moving force. The landscape of your responsibilities stretches before you, vast and uncharted. You realize that to manage scale is not merely to add more, but to move with awareness, guiding each step so that progress does not overwhelm purpose. As scale unfolds, you are called to deepen your capacity. Your mind stretches to hold more information, your attention to see more connections, your heart to carry more influence. Growth is not a race, it is a careful ascent, where each new layer must be anchored in clarity, balance, and intention. You notice that some systems you once relied upon no longer serve the whole. You release them without fear, making room for new structures that breathe and bend with the expansion. Letting go is not loss, it is the creation of space, an act of design that allows scale to take shape without strain. Delegation becomes your companion. You realize that the strength of growth is multiplied when others share responsibility. You choose carefully who holds which threads, planting seeds of trust that will support not only the present moment but the next level of expansion. Opportunities appear like streams in a river, some deep and steady, others shallow and turbulent. You learn to place your boat where the current aligns with your direction, to follow paths that honor your vision while avoiding those that scatter your energy. Timing becomes your guide, patience, your rhythm. You see that growth is a dance of contrasts, vision and structure, speed and endurance, ambition and sustainability. Each step requires attention, each decision a balance between immediate action and long-term stability. You hold the fire of imagination in one hand and the calm of strategy in the other, shaping movement that is both powerful and graceful. Storms will come, unexpected shifts, disruptions, sudden demands. You meet them with steadiness, knowing that turbulence is part of the journey. Each challenge clears what is brittle, strengthens what is essential, and reveals the patterns that will carry your expansion forward. As you scale, your inner landscape must expand as well. Patience stretches, clarity sharpens, wisdom deepens. You recognize that the structures you build externally are reflections of your inner readiness. To grow outwardly without growing inwardly is to risk collapse. To expand inwardly first is to create a foundation that can support anything. You tend this growth like a garden. You water carefully, prune intentionally, and wait for each part to flourish in its own time. Some seeds sprout immediately, others require seasons. You honor each cycle, trusting the process as much as the outcome. Ultimately, managing scale becomes an art of harmony. You learn to see the flow, to guide without forcing, to create without clinging. Growth becomes not a burden, but a rhythm, a living expression of your capacity to hold more, see farther, and step into the future with clarity, courage, and grace. You breathe deeply, feeling the space within you widen to meet the space around you. Expansion is not something to fear, but something to steward. With each breath, each choice, each measured action, you become both architect and gardener, both navigator and vessel, carrying the full weight and beauty of growth with steady hands and an open heart. The expanding horizon, you stand before the horizon of growth. Each step forward reveals more landscape, more possibilities. To manage scale, you allow your vision to widen while keeping your focus anchored in the essentials. Expansion without clarity leads only to scattered effort, expansion with clarity becomes purposeful progress. The steady bridge growth asks you to build bridges, between teams, between tasks, between vision and execution. You become both the architect and the keeper of the bridge, ensuring it can hold the weight of new responsibility without collapsing. Every plank you lay strengthens the path forward. The flowing river opportunities and challenges flow around you like water. You learn to move with the current rather than resist it. Growth management is understanding which streams to follow, when to paddle, and when to let the river carry you toward deeper abundance. The garden of systems scaling requires care like a garden requires tending. You plant structures, nurture processes, prune inefficiencies, and observe patiently. Not everything blooms at once, yet each season contributes to a thriving ecosystem. Management becomes the art of tending growth, not forcing it. The compass of purpose as scale increases, choices multiply. You rely on your inner compass, your core values and purpose, to guide every decision. With this compass, you navigate complexity without losing the direction that matters most. The ladder of patience growth is a ladder you climb step by step. Rushing leads to slips, hesitation leads to stagnation. You learn to move steadily, hand by hand, aligning each rung with preparation and insight. Each step becomes both progress and training. The circle of trust you cannot grow alone. You surround yourself with people you trust, sharing responsibility while maintaining oversight. Trust becomes the scaffolding of scale, supporting both speed and stability, allowing you to expand without collapsing under your own weight. The dance of balance scaling is a dance of contrasts, urgency and patience, expansion and consolidation, freedom and control. You learn to move in rhythm with the forces around you, so that growth flows naturally rather than forcing itself. The tides of change rises like tides, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. Growth management is anticipating the tides, riding them wisely, and knowing when to anchor and when to sail. You let the motion guide you instead of resisting the inevitable ebb and flow. The architecture of flow structures are not rigid cages but frameworks that direct flow. You design processes and systems that guide energy rather than confine it. True scale comes not from restriction, but from channels that allow ideas, effort, and people to move efficiently. The strength of simplicity. Complexity tempts you as growth expands, yet simplicity carries strength. You focus on essential systems, clear communication, and precise action. Each simplification becomes a lever, amplifying your capacity without adding strain. The inner horizon external expansion mirrors your internal growth. Your patience, clarity, and resilience must stretch alongside the scale of your work. You cultivate yourself as the vessel capable of carrying more, because only an expanded inner horizon can sustain an expanding outer one. The storm as teacher. Challenges arrive like storms, testing both structure and resolve. You meet them with steadiness, knowing that disruption clears the weak and strengthens the strong. Growth management is learning from the storm, letting it shape processes, people, and yourself. The rhythm of seasons. Growth has seasons. Some periods demand planting, others cultivation, and still others harvest. You align your efforts with the natural rhythms of expansion, moving with the cycles rather than against them, understanding that patience is a form of progress. The light of vision scale magnifies both success and misalignment. You keep vision as your guiding light, illuminating the path ahead and highlighting what requires attention. With vision as your beacon, every expansion is purposeful, every choice intentional, and every step forward aligned with the broader horizon. You stand at the edge of expansion, feeling both excitement and the weight of responsibility. Growth is not simply more, it is wider, deeper, and more complex. To manage scale, you must learn to carry increase without losing the essence of what is already thriving. As new responsibilities arise, you notice where tension gathers, in systems, in processes, in your own attention. You take a breath and allow space, creating room for the new without collapsing under its weight. Expansion asks you to stretch your capacity, but it also asks you to strengthen your foundations. You see that growth flows in patterns, like rivers carving valleys over time. You cannot force the current, you can only guide it. Some streams are shallow and will not support your momentum. Others run deep and steady, carrying you further than you imagined. Choosing which currents to follow is the subtle art of scaling wisely. Delegation becomes your instrument. You place trust in others, handing over tasks and responsibilities, not out of weakness, but out of strategic wisdom. Each person entrusted is a vessel that amplifies your capacity. You learn that growth multiplies when others share the load, when systems are built to hold more than any single individual could carry. You notice complexity arises naturally with scale, but complexity without clarity is a trap. You simplify what you can, distill processes to their essence, and create structures that breathe. Each simplification is a lever, multiplying your reach without adding strain. Storms will come, unexpected changes, obstacles, shifting priorities. You meet them with steadiness, not panic. The turbulence tests your structures, reveals weak points, and clears the space for stronger, more resilient growth. You do not resist the storm, you use its energy to strengthen your foundation and sharpen your vision. You realize that expansion is also an inward journey. As your scale increases, your patience must widen, your focus deepen, your discernment sharpen. You cultivate yourself as the vessel capable of holding the growth you wish to see. Without this inner expansion, outward growth becomes fragile. Growth unfolds in seasons. There is a time for planting, a time for nurturing, a time for harvest. You honor the timing, allowing each phase to develop fully. You do not rush, yet you do not stall. You align your effort with rhythm, understanding that patience is as critical as action. You carry vision as a lantern, illuminating the path ahead. With vision, every structure, every process, every decision aligns. With clarity of purpose, growth is not a chaotic rush, but a carefully guided flow. You move forward with intention, letting each step expand not just the work before you, but also the capacity within you to hold and sustain it. Managing scale becomes a practice of harmony. You become both architect and gardener, building structures that endure while tending living systems that grow organically. Each breath steadies you, each action aligns you, and each decision carries both responsibility and possibility. Growth is no longer a challenge to endure, it is a rhythm to participate in, a living force to guide with wisdom, patience, and presence. The river of expansion, you watch the river of your growth flowing before you. Currents pull in different directions, some strong, some shallow. You learn to navigate wisely, choosing which currents to follow and which to leave behind. Expansion requires discernment. It is not the quantity of movement that matters, but the quality. You guide your efforts so the river carries you forward with ease and alignment. The garden of responsibility. Growth is a garden. You plant seeds of structure, cultivate processes, and prune what no longer serves the whole. Some shoots flourish quickly, others need seasons to mature. You tend each part patiently, knowing that careful care multiplies abundance. Your hands create frameworks, yet your heart allows them to breathe. The compass within. Amid the complexities of scale, you carry a compass inside you, your values, purpose, and integrity. This compass guides every decision, every step, every choice. When distractions arise, you return to it. Your inner guidance ensures that as your work expands, it remains aligned with your deepest intentions. The ladder of steady steps growth appears as a ladder stretching upward. You climb each rung carefully, knowing that rushing risks collapse, and hesitation risks stagnation. Each step is deliberate, supported by preparation, insight, and reflection. Scaling becomes a practice of measured ascent, where every step trains you for the next. The circle of trust. You do not grow alone. You build circles of trust around you, people who share responsibility, vision, and values. Trust is the invisible scaffolding that allows your work to rise without collapsing under its own weight. Through trust, expansion multiplies, and your capacity to manage scale grows naturally. The dance of timing. Scale moves in rhythm. Some moments demand swift action, others patience and stillness. You attune yourself to this rhythm, moving in harmony rather than forcing motion. Timing becomes your instrument, rhythm, your guide. Growth unfolds with fluidity when you respect its pace. The storm as teacher. Challenges arrive like storms, sudden, loud, unsettling. You do not resist. Instead, you stand firm, learning from the turbulence. Weak points are revealed, new strengths discovered, and clarity emerges. You allow storms to shape your systems, refine your practices, and expand your resilience. The architecture of flow. Structures of growth are not cages but channels for energy. You design processes that guide, rather than constrain, allowing people, ideas, and effort to move freely. Your systems support expansion, making scale sustainable and flexible. You build pathways, not barriers, for growth to flow. The seasons of expansion. You recognize the seasons of growth. There is a time to plant, a time to nurture, a time to harvest. You align your efforts with each season, allowing processes to mature naturally. Patience is as vital as action, waiting is part of expansion. Each phase teaches you rhythm, persistence, and trust in timing. The inner horizon. As your work grows outward, your inner horizon must expand. Patience stretches, awareness deepens, clarity sharpens. You cultivate yourself as the vessel capable of holding the scale you are building. Without inner growth, outer growth is fragile. With inner readiness, expansion becomes a flowing, sustainable force. The lighthouse of vision. You are the lighthouse guiding the expansion of your work. Your vision casts light on what matters, illuminating the path and warning of hidden obstacles. As scale grows, you maintain focus, ensuring every step forward aligns with purpose. Even in fog or storm, your inner light steadies the course. The flowing garden. Growth is alive, like a garden that breathes and shifts with the seasons. You nurture the roots while letting shoots find their own direction. You provide support without rigid control, allowing each branch to find its path. Expansion becomes a living ecosystem, vibrant and resilient. The mountain path. Scaling is a climb along a mountain path. The terrain shifts, some sections steep, others gentle. You pace yourself, aware of every foothold, attentive to balance. You carry vision in your mind and steadiness in your heart, knowing that the summit arrives through measured persistence, not rush. The weaving of threads. Managing scale is like weaving threads into a tapestry. Each responsibility, each relationship, each system is a thread. You carefully intertwine them, noticing tension, reinforcing weak areas, and aligning patterns. Over time, a strong, coherent fabric of growth emerges, resilient and elegant. The sky of possibility. As your capacity expands, You feel the sky opening above you, vast, limitless, inviting. Growth is not just a structure to manage, it is a horizon to explore. You breathe into this space, letting vision, energy, and wisdom rise together. Each choice you make shapes the clouds and stars of your unfolding potential. You stand at the threshold of expansion, sensing the weight and the possibility of growth stretching before you. Scale is not only about size, it is about depth, reach, and balance. To manage it, you are asked to move with awareness, to hold more without losing clarity, and to carry responsibility without losing yourself. You notice the space around you shifting, as more tasks, more people, and more decisions seek attention. You inhale slowly, creating room within your mind and body. Growth does not demand force, it asks for measured expansion. You build capacity by pausing, assessing, and aligning each step with what truly matters. You realize that systems are living frameworks. They are not rigid cages, but channels that allow energy, ideas, and effort to flow freely. You tend them carefully, strengthening what works, removing what hinders, and adjusting where necessary. Each process you refine becomes a lever that multiplies your reach without draining your focus. Delegation becomes a tool of freedom. You hand over tasks thoughtfully, trusting others to carry the vision forward. This is not surrender, it is strategic distribution of energy. Each person entrusted becomes a pillar, supporting both the work and your capacity to grow. You learn that shared responsibility sustains expansion in ways that solitary effort never could. Growth flows like a living current, sometimes swift, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent. You do not resist its rhythm. You step into it with discernment, following currents that serve your vision, redirecting those that scatter your energy. You sense which opportunities will bear fruit and which are diversions, choosing alignment over mere motion. Challenges arrive like shifting winds, testing structures and resolve. You meet them with steadiness, observing how systems flex and adjust. The turbulence reveals weak points, clears unnecessary clutter, and sharpens insight. You understand that obstacles are not blockages, but instruments that refine and guide expansion. You cultivate your inner horizon as carefully as your outer structures. Patience stretches, clarity deepens, and awareness sharpens. Expansion is sustainable only when your inner capacity matches the scale you wish to achieve. You breathe deeply, integrating inner growth with outward movement, creating harmony between the two. You move through this process with a sense of rhythm. Some moments call for action, others for reflection. Some seasons demand planting, others nurturing, and still others harvesting. You honor the natural cadence of growth, understanding that each phase prepares the next, and that rushing or resisting only leads to imbalance. Vision becomes your guiding light, illuminating both opportunity and risk. It steadies each decision, shapes each system, and aligns every action. With vision, your expansion is purposeful; without it, growth risks chaos. You maintain focus, even as scale increases, knowing that clarity is the anchor of sustainable progress. As you hold space for growth, you become both architect and gardener, both navigator and steward. You guide structures, nurture teams, refine systems, and expand your own capacity. Each breath, each choice, each step forward is part of a larger rhythm, a flowing, living process of measured expansion. You sense the potential around you, not as a weight to bear, but as a horizon to explore. Scale is an invitation to cultivate presence, clarity, and wisdom alongside responsibility. With each deliberate act, you shape the future while strengthening the present. Expansion becomes not a challenge to endure, but a path to participate in consciously, skillfully, and with intention. You exhale and feel alignment. You are ready for the next step, ready to carry more, ready to guide growth with steadiness, patience, and insight. Expansion is not a destination, it is a living journey, and you are fully present to steward it with wisdom and grace. The mountain of responsibility you face, a mountain that rises with every step you take. Its peak represents the full scope of your growth, its slopes the challenges and choices that come with scale. You do not rush. Each foothold is chosen carefully, each handhold tested. Expansion is steady, deliberate, and mindful. You learn to move upward while keeping balance, strengthening both inner resilience and outer structure with every step. The weaving of systems growth is a tapestry you weave thread by thread. Each thread represents a task, a team, a process, or a value. You interlace them with care, noticing tension, reinforcing weak points, and creating patterns that support both beauty and function. You understand that scale is not merely addition, it is the integration of many elements into a coherent, sustainable whole. The river of flow, you see growth as a river flowing through your work and life. It has channels, bends, and currents, some gentle, some turbulent. You guide it with patience, redirecting it where it stalls, opening new paths where energy is blocked. You do not dam the flow, you allow movement while shaping direction. Growth becomes effortless when you move with the current rather than against it. The lighthouse of clarity, as your scope widens, clarity becomes your lighthouse. Its light cuts through fog, revealing obstacles, opportunities, and paths forward. You focus your attention carefully, ensuring that each decision, each process, and each action aligns with your purpose. Even when scale stretches your capacity, the lighthouse steadies you, guiding growth with precision and calm. The garden of alignment scaling is a living garden. Some areas bloom quickly, others require patience. You cultivate each part with attention and care, weeding inefficiencies, nurturing potential, and providing structure where needed. Growth is not forced, it is invited. Alignment becomes the soil in which expansion takes root, allowing new systems, ideas, and relationships to flourish harmoniously. The bridge of capacity, you walk across a bridge you are building as you move. Each plank represents a skill, a decision, or a system that supports your growing responsibilities. You test each step, reinforcing where needed, and trusting where the foundation is strong. Expansion becomes manageable because the bridge grows with you, steady, flexible, and capable of carrying more than you alone could bear. The sky of possibility growth spreads like the sky before you, wide, open, and infinite. You breathe into this space, allowing vision, creativity, and insight to rise alongside responsibilities. Scale is not a weight but a horizon to explore. You choose which stars to follow, which constellations to align with, and which clouds to let pass, shaping your path with intention and clarity. The clock of rhythm expansion has a natural rhythm, like the ticking of a clock. Some moments require action, others reflection, some effort yields rapid results, while patience produces deeper foundations. You attune yourself to this rhythm, moving with the cadence of growth rather than against it. Time becomes your ally, not your enemy, and each step forward feels purposeful and aligned. The sculptor's hand managing scale is like sculpting from raw stone. Each decision, each system, each action chisels away what is unnecessary and shapes what will endure. You work patiently, attending to detail, observing the form emerging with each touch. Growth is not about hasty accumulation, but about careful refinement, revealing the structure that has always been possible within the mass of potential. The lantern of focus. As expansion stretches your attention, you carry a lantern that illuminates the most vital paths. Its light reveals what deserves your energy and what can wait. You move steadily, step by step, focusing on what truly advances your purpose. Scale becomes navigable because your focus defines the path, guiding energy and resources with precision. The compass of choice. You carry an inner compass that guides every decision as your responsibilities grow. Each choice points toward alignment or drift. You pause, consult your values, and move deliberately. Expansion is sustainable because every step is intentional, guided by clarity and purpose, not by haste or impulse. The wave of adaptation. Growth moves like waves, rising and falling, sometimes gentle, sometimes forceful. You learn to ride the swell, adjusting posture and energy with each shift. To manage scale, you become fluid, bending without breaking, flowing without losing direction. The movement itself teaches resilience and responsiveness. The seed of innovation. Every new responsibility is a seed. You plant it thoughtfully, nurture it with resources, and watch it take root. Not every seed sprouts immediately, some require time, patience, and repeated care. Growth management is tending these seeds so they flourish into structures that strengthen your capacity and expand your reach. The mirror of awareness. Expansion reflects back the strengths and weaknesses of your systems, your teams, and yourself. You observe carefully, noting patterns, misalignments, and opportunities for refinement. Each reflection is a guide, showing where adjustment will allow smoother, more sustainable growth. Awareness becomes both lens and lever for scale. The horizon of possibility. You stand at the edge of all that can be created. The horizon stretches wide, filled with opportunity and responsibility. You breathe, feeling both the weight and the wonder of scale. Expansion is no longer a burden, it is a landscape to navigate with clarity, patience, and confidence. Every step forward unfolds possibility while strengthening the ground beneath your feet. You stand before the landscape of expansion, sensing both the weight of responsibility and the energy of possibility. Growth is not simply more work or more tasks, it is a living, moving system that stretches in all directions. You breathe deeply, opening space within yourself to meet it with presence, patience, and clarity. As scale unfolds, you notice the currents of activity around you, some swift, some calm, some unpredictable. You do not resist them. Instead, you learn to flow with discernment, stepping into the currents that carry you forward, gently redirecting those that lead away from alignment. You are not pulled by force, you guide with intention. Systems and structures are your allies. You build them not as cages, but as channels for energy, clarity, and collaboration. Each framework you create supports more than what you alone could carry. You refine, simplify, and adjust continuously, allowing movement to remain fluid even as responsibility grows. Delegation becomes a deliberate act of expansion. You entrust tasks, decisions, and leadership to others, recognizing that shared responsibility multiplies capacity. You observe, guide, and nurture, creating a network of support where growth is sustained and resilient. The work does not belong to you alone, it belongs to the whole system you cultivate. Challenges arrive like winds across a wide plain, sudden, shifting, and testing your stability. You do not fear them. You meet each gust with steady footing, learning how structures flex, where adjustments are needed, and how resilience is formed. Each challenge strengthens the systems, the team, and your own inner capacity. You cultivate an inner horizon that expands alongside outer growth. Patience stretches, focus deepens, clarity sharpens, and wisdom grows. You recognize that sustainable expansion depends as much on your inner readiness as on the outer structures you build. Each breath, each moment of reflection, enlarges your capacity to hold more without strain. Time becomes a teacher. Growth has cycles, periods of planting, periods of nurturing, periods of harvesting. You honor each season, neither rushing nor resisting. You understand that steady, aligned progress produces outcomes that endure, while hasty accumulation leads only to imbalance. Vision becomes the lantern that illuminates every path. It shows the opportunities worth pursuing, the relationships to nurture, and the systems to refine. Scale is navigable because vision shapes your choices and aligns energy, keeping expansion purposeful and clear. You move like a gardener and an architect at once. You nurture potential while constructing frameworks. You allow energy to flow freely, but you guide it with precision. Every decision, every action, every step forward contributes to a larger, living pattern of growth. As you step fully into this process, you feel the space around you expand. Scale is no longer a burden but a rhythm, a landscape alive with potential. You breathe into it with confidence, patience, and awareness, holding the capacity to guide expansion skillfully, sustainably, and gracefully. Growth becomes not something to endure, but something to navigate with presence, wisdom, and intention. The forest of responsibility. You walk into a forest that grows denser with every step. Each tree represents a task, a role, or a system in your life. You navigate carefully, noticing which branches require support and which paths can be cleared. Growth is not about cutting down the forest, it is about creating pathways through it, allowing energy and attention to flow freely while nurturing what thrives. The echo of decisions. Every decision you make echoes across your growing landscape. You pause before acting, listening to the resonance of each choice. Some decisions reverberate far and strengthen your foundations, others fade quickly or create disharmony. You learn to act with awareness, understanding that scale magnifies both the weight and the reach of every action. The loom of coordination. Managing scale is like weaving on a loom. Each thread, a task, a team, a process, must intersect with others in harmony. You observe the tension, adjust alignment, and ensure that every thread contributes to a coherent, strong fabric. Growth becomes sustainable when all elements are connected and moving in coordinated rhythm. The mirror of systems. You stand before a mirror reflecting your structures, your processes, and your capacity. The mirror shows what is balanced and what needs refinement. You do not judge, you observe and adjust. Each reflection guides your next action, allowing growth to be managed with awareness and precision. Your systems are alive, responsive, and evolving alongside you. The horizon of intent. The horizon stretches wide before you, filled with possibility. You breathe into it, sensing potential and responsibility as intertwined forces. Each action you take shapes this horizon, each choice moves it slightly closer to alignment. Expansion is no longer overwhelming, it is a landscape you guide with intent, presence, and clarity, aware that the future unfolds with every deliberate step you take. The river of expansion. You stand at the edge of a river that represents your growing responsibilities. Its waters flow in multiple currents, some calm, some rapid. You step carefully, feeling which currents carry energy forward and which lead to scattered effort. You move with the river, shaping its path gently, guiding flow while respecting its natural rhythm. Growth becomes effortless when you ride the currents with awareness. The workshop of possibility. Your mind and resources are like a workshop, filled with tools, materials, and raw potential. Expansion requires that you organize, refine, and repurpose these tools wisely. You test structures, sharpen processes, and repair gaps. Growth is not chaos, it is the careful orchestration of effort, energy, and materials, transforming potential into sustainable results. The garden of momentum. Each responsibility, each task, is a plant in your garden. You water some, prune others, and allow some to rest in the soil before growth resumes. Momentum arises naturally when care, timing, and attention are aligned. You do not force blooms, you cultivate conditions where growth can emerge organically and consistently. The beacon of alignment. You carry a beacon within, shining light on your priorities, systems, and relationships. Scale stretches wide, but the beacon keeps you oriented. You notice misalignments, redirect energy, and reinforce structures. Expansion is manageable because the light of clarity illuminates the path, showing where focus, adjustment, and support are most needed. The mountain stream. Growth is like a mountain stream, carving paths through stone and soil. You observe its energy, guide its direction, and remove obstructions carefully. You do not dam the stream, you work with it. Each choice shapes the flow, allowing scale to move naturally, steadily, and sustainably. Expansion becomes a living process that you steward, not force. The bridge of expansion. You step onto a bridge that stretches across your growing responsibilities. Each plank represents a system, a decision, or a relationship. You test each one carefully, reinforcing where necessary and moving deliberately. Expansion becomes navigable because the bridge grows stronger with your attention, allowing you to carry more without strain. The sky of perspective. You lift your gaze to the sky, expansive and open. From this vantage, you see the full scale of your growth. Clouds of challenge drift past, stars of opportunity shine clearly, and winds of change blow gently. You move with perspective, choosing which currents to follow and which to let pass. Scale becomes manageable when seen from clarity and calm. The loom of coordination. Each responsibility is a thread on a loom, and you are the weaver. You align the threads with care, adjusting tension, weaving patterns that hold, and creating coherence across complexity. Growth is sustainable because every element is integrated, every connection intentional, and every movement deliberate. The mirror of capacity. You stand before a mirror reflecting your systems, your energy, and your inner strength. You observe patterns, noticing where balance exists and where refinement is needed. Each reflection guides your next step, showing where expansion can be supported and where adjustments will prevent strain. Awareness becomes the tool that shapes sustainable growth. The horizon of mastery. The horizon stretches before you, wide and alive with potential. Each step you take shapes it, each decision shifts it slightly closer to alignment. You breathe, feeling both the weight and the wonder of scale. Expansion is not a burden but a landscape to navigate consciously, with intention, skill, and presence. You move forward with clarity, patience, and confidence, stewarding growth as a living, unfolding journey. You step into a vast landscape, where the terrain rises and stretches in every direction. Each hill, valley, and plain represents the scope of your responsibilities and the energy of your growth. You breathe deeply, opening space within yourself to meet this expanse with presence, patience, and insight. You notice streams of activity moving across this landscape, some fast, some slow, some shifting unpredictably. You do not force them, you flow with discernment. You choose currents that carry energy forward, redirect those that scatter attention, and create channels where movement can happen freely. Growth is guided, not chaotic. Structures and processes rise around you like pillars and pathways. You shape them intentionally, reinforcing what supports progress, pruning what no longer serves, and allowing space for new paths to emerge. These frameworks are alive, flexible, and resilient, growing alongside the work they support. Delegation becomes an act of strategic expansion. You entrust responsibilities thoughtfully, trusting others to carry vision forward while observing and guiding when necessary. Each person involved becomes a multiplier of capacity, strengthening the system and allowing scale to grow sustainably. Challenges arrive like shifting winds and sudden storms. You meet them with steady footing, seeing each obstacle as a teacher. Weak points are revealed, structures are strengthened, and insight deepens. You do not resist the storm, you learn to move with it, shaping growth in response rather than in reaction. Your inner horizon expands alongside the outer. Patience lengthens, clarity deepens, and discernment sharpens. You recognize that sustainable growth depends as much on inner readiness as on external systems. Each breath, each reflection, and each choice enlarges your capacity to hold more without strain. Time becomes a companion. You sense cycles of planting, nurturing, and harvesting within your work. You align your actions with these rhythms, moving with natural cadence. You do not rush, you do not stall. Expansion unfolds most effectively when guided by timing, patience, and presence. Vision becomes your compass, illuminating the opportunities, priorities, and structures that matter most. With vision, growth is intentional, each step forward purposeful. Scale becomes navigable because clarity shapes your choices and aligns effort, ensuring expansion is both effective and sustainable. You move like both gardener and architect, nurturing potential while constructing supportive structures. Energy flows freely where it should, yet is guided intentionally to maintain balance. Each action contributes to a living, dynamic system of growth that evolves in harmony with both purpose and capacity. As you stand fully within this process, you feel the space around you widen. Growth is no longer a burden, it is a landscape alive with possibility. You breathe into it with awareness, patience, and confidence, stewarding scale with skill, presence, and intention. Expansion becomes a journey to navigate consciously, gracefully, and sustainably. The sky bridge of possibility. You walk along a sky bridge suspended over the landscape of your responsibilities. Each plank supports a different aspect of your work, some known, some still emerging. You step mindfully, feeling the strength beneath you and adjusting where necessary. Expansion is navigable because each step is intentional, and each movement aligns with the structure you are steadily reinforcing. The lighthouse of awareness. You carry a lighthouse within yourself. Its beam cuts through the fog of complexity, illuminating the choices, priorities, and processes that demand attention. As your work scales, the light keeps you oriented. Even in uncertainty, you move with clarity, letting vision guide decisions and maintain alignment across expanding systems. The garden of streams. Your responsibilities flow like streams across a fertile garden. Some streams run fast, some slow, some meander unpredictably. You guide them thoughtfully, removing obstacles, reinforcing channels, and creating connections where flow can be strongest. Growth emerges naturally when energy, structure, and direction are in balance. The loom of coordination. You are at a loom, weaving threads of effort, people, and systems into a coherent whole. Some threads are strong, some fragile. You adjust tension, realign patterns, and ensure that each element contributes to a structure that can support increasing scale. Expansion is sustainable because integration, not accumulation, becomes your guiding principle. The mountain stream of momentum. Growth moves like a mountain stream, carving paths through rocks and soil. You observe its flow, adjusting channels, removing obstructions, and guiding energy where it is most effective. You do not dam the stream, you steward it. Each movement shapes momentum, allowing scale to progress naturally and sustainably. The bridge of alignment: you step onto a bridge stretching across the expanse of your responsibilities. Each plank represents a system, a choice, or a relationship. You test each step, reinforce where needed, and move with care. Expansion becomes navigable because the bridge supports both your weight and the weight of growth, creating a path that is steady, flexible, and aligned with your vision. The horizon of insight: you gaze at the horizon, wide and alive with possibilities. Each opportunity stretches outward like sunlight across the landscape of your work. You breathe into this space, sensing potential, responsibility, and rhythm. Expansion is manageable because you move with awareness, choosing the paths that align with both purpose and capacity. The workshop of structure: your mind is a workshop, filled with tools, materials, and raw potential. You organize, refine, and strengthen processes, creating structures that guide energy and effort effectively. Growth is not chaos, it is deliberate orchestration, transforming potential into coherent, sustainable progress that supports both scale and stability. The mirror of perspective: you stand before a mirror reflecting your systems, your energy, and your capacity. You notice what is balanced, what is fragile, and where refinement is needed. Each reflection guides your next action, allowing expansion to be managed consciously. Awareness becomes the tool that shapes not only what grows but how it grows. The garden of patience: growth unfolds like a garden through seasons of planting, nurturing, and harvesting. You tend it with care, knowing that some areas will bloom quickly while others require time. Patience is the soil in which scale thrives. Each breath, each observation, each action contributes to a living ecosystem of sustainable expansion. The lantern of focus: you carry a lantern that illuminates the most important paths in your growing responsibilities. Its light reveals where attention is needed, where energy flows freely, and where adjustments are required. You move steadily, step by step, guided by clarity. Expansion is navigable because focus shapes your direction, ensuring growth is both intentional and sustainable. The river of adaptation: your work flows like a river, carving channels through rock and soil. Currents shift, obstacles appear, and sometimes the water rises beyond expectation. You do not resist. You guide, adapt, and adjust, allowing energy to flow while shaping direction. Growth becomes fluid and responsive, moving naturally with the rhythm of change. The compass of priorities: you carry a compass within, pointing toward what truly matters. As scale increases, choices multiply, and the landscape becomes complex. You pause, consult the compass, and take deliberate steps. Each movement aligns with purpose, ensuring expansion does not scatter energy but concentrates it where it will create meaningful impact. The mountain of momentum: you climb a mountain representing your expanding responsibilities. The slope is uneven, some areas steep, some gentle. Each step strengthens balance, endurance, and insight. Momentum builds not from haste but from deliberate, measured ascent. Growth is sustainable because your pace respects the terrain, your skill, and the natural rhythm of progress. The horizon of mastery: you stand at the edge of a vast horizon, filled with potential and responsibility. Every choice, every step, every breath shapes the landscape ahead. Expansion is no longer overwhelming, it is a journey to navigate with intention, presence, and confidence. You steward scale gracefully, cultivating clarity, resilience, and alignment as you move forward into the possibilities before you. You find yourself at the edge of an open plain, stretching wide and filled with potential. Each contour of the land represents a responsibility, a system, a connection that grows with every choice you make. You breathe deeply, feeling the space expand within and around you, preparing to meet growth with calm, presence, and intention. You notice rivers of energy flowing across the landscape, some fast, some slow, some winding unpredictably. You step into them with awareness, guiding currents that serve your vision, redirecting those that scatter effort, and creating channels where flow can move naturally. Expansion is not a burden, it is a living system you steward. Structures arise beneath your hands like bridges, towers, and pathways. You shape them carefully, reinforcing what supports movement, pruning what hinders progress, and leaving room for new pathways to emerge. These frameworks are flexible, alive, and resilient, expanding alongside the work they support. Delegation becomes an act of strategic growth. You share responsibilities thoughtfully, empowering others to carry vision forward while observing, guiding, and adjusting where needed. Each person involved strengthens the system, multiplying capacity and creating balance across expanding scope. Challenges appear like shifting winds and sudden storms. You meet them with steady footing, observing what bends and what breaks. Every obstacle reveals opportunities for refinement, resilience, and deeper understanding. You move with the storm, shaping growth in response rather than reacting out of fear or urgency. Your inner horizon expands as your outer world grows. Patience stretches, clarity deepens, and discernment sharpens. Sustainable expansion depends on your inner capacity as much as on the structures around you. Each breath, reflection, and deliberate choice increases your ability to hold more without strain. Time flows like a river of seasons. There are moments for planting, for tending, and for harvesting. You align your actions with these natural cycles, allowing growth to emerge in harmony with rhythm, rather than forcing motion. Each phase prepares the next, creating continuity, depth, and strength. Vision becomes your compass, illuminating the priorities, opportunities, and systems that matter most. Scale becomes navigable because clarity shapes your choices, aligns energy, and ensures that expansion is sustainable and effective. You move like both gardener and architect, nurturing potential while constructing supportive structures. Energy flows where it is needed, guided by intention and awareness. Every step contributes to a living, dynamic system of growth that evolves with purpose and balance. As you stand fully within this process, you feel the space around you widen. Growth is no longer a challenge to endure, it is a landscape to navigate consciously. You breathe into it with presence, patience, and confidence, guiding scale with skill, wisdom, and alignment. Expansion becomes a journey of mastery, resilience, and conscious stewardship.